Democrats devour our cities. That's the focus of tonight's angle. The Wall Street Journal today published a searing piece about the coming exodus from urban America. In just 3 months, it has become clear that modern urban progressivism is politically incompetent and intellectually incoherent. The unhappy result, as young families and well-off retirees leave, is that these cities will be increasingly becoming more divided between upscale progressive singles able to afford the political incompetence and the residents of inner-city neighborhoods that will fall further behind. In March, when the COVID lockdowns began, we saw how quickly life in most big cities deteriorated. Now, mostly left-leaning mayors prolonged their stay-at-home orders when common sense screamed that doing so would only create tidal waves of misery. So when schools and churches and community rec centers closed, there was little for young people in the cities to do. Many of them couldn't go to work or had been laid off. And what happened then? Unemployment skyrocketed, and the black unemployment rate in May was the highest in more than a decade at 16.8%. The horrific killing of George Floyd and the outrage that it triggered was like a match on dry kindling wood that was then doused in rocket fuel. Political arsonists encouraged criminals then to rampage through cities and spread fear to the suburbs. Peaceful protesters were used as cover for both Antifa and BLM to push a corrosive anti-law enforcement narrative. Police precincts were overrun as mayors and governors sat by just twiddling their thumbs. These urban saboteurs are so desperate to rid America of Trump. They're so committed to upending capitalism, they'll sacrifice anyone and anything along the way. If some innocent people have to die, if some family-owned businesses have to suffer, so be it. In a few moments, we'll hear how a few are coping. Now, the scenes I'm about to show you are very disturbing, and they all occurred in American cities where racial hatred and anti-police sentiment is being allowed to fester and grow. Why do the other networks not run any of that? Now, we're already seeing a massive wave of crime sweep across our major cities. In the last 28 days, New York City has seen the number of murders double from last year's figures, from 19 to 38. Shootings are up 24%, burglaries 47%, car thefts 60%. And this is all despite the lockdowns, which the experts told us would reduce crime. Other cities are plagued by violence as well. L.A., that's where we are. Police reporting that murders are up, and get this, how much? 250% just in the first week of June. And as riots gripped Chicago, the Windy City saw its deadliest day in 60 years when on May 31st, 18 people were killed in just 24 hours. Most of them African American. Major media outlets do not cover these facts. Why? Yet if a cop tases someone who is resisting arrest, you're going to see every camera angle. Why? Are Democrats and members of the media excusing wanton acts of violence by some to further a particular political agenda? Of course they are. Here's how the bright minds at CNN rationalized Rayshard Brooks' decision to attack Atlanta police officers.
Mr. Brooks was known by them to not have a weapon other than the taser that he had taken from them.
There's a lot of chit-chat, a lot of niceties for a long time. What about the benign option of the guy says he's going to walk home? Why not giving him the option of letting him leave that way?
He was driving drunk, okay? Local and state politicians in both parties are too afraid or too weak to face the truth. America has an intense spiritual and family problem, not systemic racism and policing. For too long, we also had an economic system that helped multinational companies at the expense of working people. So instead of addressing these very difficult problems, the media, they want to convince kids that the entire criminal justice system is itself inherently abusive toward one group of people. Now, you bet racism exists in the country. And so does cynicism, the type of cynicism that says that black kids and their families don't deserve to have a choice in education. And they don't deserve to have what? Their jobs stay here instead of being shipped overseas? What the left is proposing and what Biden is promising would be disastrous for all, but I'm telling you, for African Americans, they would suffer the most. Their economic policy would not only hamper job creation in the United States, it would restart the efforts to ship jobs offshore. So economic and wage growth will stagnate. Of course, what will happen? China will profit, though. Now, wealthy people like billionaires and millionaires funding Biden's campaign, they can benefit from all those policies. After all, many of them own the companies that want to take jobs from here and send them over there. And they want foreigners, more of them, who will accept lower wages here in the United States. And by the way, those same very rich people can avoid some of the harmful effects of left-wing policies, but by doing what they've done in the past, fleeing the cities for the suburbs. There they will have probably plenty of police. And there they will be able to send their kids to private schools and work at decent jobs, all from the comfort of home. But poorer people of all races, especially the ones stuck in cities, they work at essential jobs, and they'll pay the price.
I could see the glass being completely just shattered.
As her husband Ralph was trying to clean up outside, Alvarez says she turned to see him on the ground in front of a large crowd, unconscious.
I started to scream. I tried to wake him. He wouldn't wake back up. And I tried to call for the police. No one was picking up.
No one was picking up. It doesn't have to be this way. President Trump has shown that he will fight and beat the business lobbies who don't want to pay decent wages to American workers. Unlike Biden, he'll actually stand up to the pro-China lobby and keep good jobs here at home. And unlike Biden, he'll fight crime, and he'll work to keep our cities safe and vibrant for all. Unlike Biden, he'll resist efforts to drag America into useless wars. Just ask John Bolton. And his party stands with him. The reason the left keeps bringing up ancient history is because today's GOP is ready, willing, and eager to work with African Americans. We want to empower them, and we want them to make a major part of make up the major part of the GOP coalition. Any claim to the contrary is a lie, and it's toxic, and we won't stand for it. But Democrats have nothing substantive to offer, which is why they do everything possible to insult African Americans like Tim Scott, who takes leadership roles in the GOP and takes them very seriously. For the last 60 years, American liberals have promised African Americans that their policies would make things better. They were wrong, and their policies have failed miserably. That's why the left has to spread hatred and division. And that's why they're lying about this country and its history. They have nothing positive to offer today. Their only hope is to persuade Americans to give up and turn on each other.
If you've observed recurring violations of the Safer at Home order, please continue to let us know. In this case, snitches get rewards.
We still know there's some people who need to get the message, and that means sometimes making sure the enforcement is there to educate people.
Everyone will say, well, you know, I'm not a racist. Yeah, great. That's not good enough.
We have to resist these efforts to divide and snitch on and demonize fellow citizens, or our cities will be lost and we will never find the unity we were created to achieve. And that's the angle.